Welcome, Fairway Construction Field Operations Team. In this explainer, we're diving into our standard operating procedure for one of the most critical phases of any project, closeout and turnover. All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are covering Section 4 of our Field Operations SOP. This is the playbook for the closeout and turnover process for every single Fairway multifamily project. So, here's what we're going to cover. First, the punch and closeout process. Then, we'll talk about coordinating final handoffs. After that, we'll get into final turnover and approvals. And we'll wrap up with why this SOP is so important to all of us. Okay, let's start at the beginning with the first phase, punch and closeout. This is all about the procedures for our final unit punch walks and project closeout activities, which are laid out for us in SOPs 4.1 and 4.2. You know, a smooth punch process really comes down to teamwork and coordination. And that starts with every single one of us knowing our exact role. The superintendent, you're leading the charge, but success really hinges on the assistant superintendent's prep work, the PM's oversight, and of course our subcontractors getting their work done and documented with photos and Procore. It's a team sport. Now, this is our mandatory 4-step punch walk procedure. Each step builds on the last one, all the way from prep to that final sign-off. I want to be really clear here. Following this exact sequence on every project is absolutely non-negotiable. It's our best tool for ensuring consistent quality across the board. The SOP brings up a really common snag we see in the field. It asks this question directly. Can we actually conduct punch walks before the final cleaning is totally done? What do you think? And the answer is a hard no. For us to get an accurate assessment, the unit must be fully cleaned before that formal punch walk begins. Honestly, it's the only way we can prevent missed items and guarantee we're doing a comprehensive quality check the first time around. All right, next up is SOP 4.2. This is where we zoom out from individual units to think about site-wide readiness. We're talking about all the project closeout field activities. The project closeout procedure follows these 4 steps. The key thing to see here is the flow. It goes from our internal readiness and getting all the documentation uploaded in Procore to getting those external approvals and finally demobilization. Every single step has to be completed in order. No skipping ahead. Okay, next section. Let's talk about coordinating final handoffs. This is a big one. It includes utilities, those all-important site visits, and the turnover of all furniture, fixtures, and equipment, which, we just call FF&E. For utility handoffs, just like with punch, the roles are super clearly defined to make sure everything is synchronized. The superintendent is overseeing the physical work. The assistant superintendent is managing schedules and documenting everything. The PM is handling the accounts with utility providers. And our trade partners are out there executing the actual tie-ins. Everybody has their part to play. The utility turnover itself is a 4-step sequence. But listen, the process isn't done until you hit step 4. That's when all the documentation is uploaded, making for a clean, verifiable handoff to property management. That last step is crucial. It is so important to understand the difference between the 2 main final walkthroughs. An owner walk is all about contractual quality, the finishes, the FF&E. But a walk with an authority having jurisdiction, or AHJ, that's completely different. They're laser-focused on code compliance and life safety to close out our permits. Each walk requires totally different prep. FF&E coordination is a nice, structured 3-step process. We start by confirming the area is 100% ready, then we track the installation progress in Procore, and it all concludes with a dedicated FF&E punch walk and that formal sign-off from the owner. So this brings us to another critical question about sequencing. Can we go ahead and install the FF&E before the main area punch list is totally 100% complete? And again, the SOP is crystal clear. No. Unless you have a specific written approval from the owner, all punch items have to be resolved before you start installing FF&E. This sequence is there to protect those new assets and, frankly, to prevent a ton of costly rework. We're in the home stretch now. In our final section, we'll cover turnover and approvals. This is where we get to move-in ready status, handle the warranty handover, and lock down those final land development approvals, all detailed in SOPs 4.6 through 4.8. Look, move-in ready isn't just a phrase we throw around. It's a formal status we achieve by completing every single item on this checklist. That means 100% punch completion in Procore, an inspected final cleaning, all systems tested, and a documented turnover walk with property management using the official checklist. No exceptions. The warranty handover is another structured, three-step process. It's all designed for a seamless transition. The whole goal here is to fully equip the property management team by verifying closeout, giving them all the documentation they need, and then conducting a really thorough orientation session. And finally, we close out the site work itself. This four-step procedure is how we ensure all the civil and landscape requirements are met. It all builds up to that final jurisdictional approval we need to formally, officially complete the project. So just to make sure we've got the sequencing down pat, the SOP asks one last critical question. Can we call for the final civil inspection before all the other site work, like ADA and landscaping items, is complete? Absolutely not. The SOP is really firm on this point, and for good reason. It helps us avoid failed inspections and those expensive reinspection fees. All that prerequisite work, ADA compliance, BMP stabilization, landscape punch, it all has to be corrected before you pick up the phone to call for that final inspection. All right, let's wrap this up by talking about why this SOP is so critical for every single person on our field operations team. You see, this SOP is way more than just a checklist. It's our playbook for excellence. Following these procedures is what ensures every Fairway construction project wraps up with the same high level of professionalism and readiness. Mastering these steps is how we deliver on our promises, how we protect our reputation, and how we ensure a successful handoff to a satisfied client. Thank you.